Good afternoon. Today is April 21st, 2025. Thank you for coming to today's Community Advisory Committee meeting. Apologies for the late start time. We've been waiting for one of our presenters who should be here shortly, but we're going to get started. My name is Michael Ross. I'm the Director of Stakeholder Engagement for the NYCHA Monitors. We're here at NYCHA's offices at 90 Church. This meeting is also being recorded and live streamed, and we will post the video recording on the Monitor's website at NYCHAmonitor.com. For those here in person, there is an attendance sign-in sheet, so please sign the sheet and we'll post the list of attendees of the meeting on the website. A few short announcements before we start. First, I want to thank our resident members who are here today. Ms. Torres, Mr. Hall, thank you very much for your continued participation. I would like to formally welcome Ms. Cynthia Tibbs of WSUR, who formally joined the CAC last month. She's on the Zoom. Ms. Tibbs has participated in CAC meetings as a guest in the past and has agreed to join the committee. Thank you, Ms. Tibbs, for your time as well. We are continuing to try to expand our resident participation in the CAC, which is so important. In that regard, I'd also like to welcome Ms. Nilda Lino from Gowanus Houses, who's here today in person as a guest. Thank you so much. I know you've listened in to a lot of the meetings remotely, and it's really nice to have you here in person. Third, I also want to welcome and acknowledge Mr. Hassan Abdul Malik of Van Dyke Houses, who has joined the Monitor team as our resident consultant and is here today on his first day. So thank you very much for joining us. Last, before jumping in, let me note that earlier this month, on April 3rd, the Monitors issued their quarterly report. It's available on the Monitor's website at www.nychamonitor.com/reports. All the reports are available there for the public to review. Okay, well, let's jump in. We have a busy agenda today. We're still waiting actually for the NYCHA presenter for the first two topics, so we thought we'd just take the topics out of order just to make sure we can jump in. So we're going to start with safety and security. Chief Secreto will give that report first. We usually do that at the end, but we'll do that first today. And then the other topics we have will follow. So just to put it all out, we will have a presentation from NYCHA concerning vacant units and how those are addressed by NYCHA, which is an issue we've heard about now a number of times. And we'll hear from Eva Trimble, NYCHA COO, as well as Dan Green from Property Management Operations. So that's the first topic after Chief Secreto. And then after that, we'll have a presentation concerning inspections and the maintenance care program. That's also from Dan Green. With all that said, without further ado, Chief Secreto.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I was smiling because you said I'm going before my boss, Ms. Trimble. I hope I don't say anything she planned to talk about, but I'll try not to. I'll start out with the Office of Safety and Security was before the City Council last week, and my other boss, Lauren Gray, presented. I thought she did a fantastic job. But the topic was the security guards and the fire guards. So we've had some changes with the fire guards, security guards over the last year or so. There was one company, Allied, who's no longer with us, but we have three companies that do fire guards and security guards throughout the 5 boroughs. Those companies being Wisdom, ISS Action, and CitySafe, and they broke it up. We've also been doing more checks. They've been a concern since I'm here, certainly. Yes, Dan. But so that was the topic. And Mike, I think you mentioned it, more community tenant engagement. So some of the recommendations of the council, or not the council, but of DOI, is that there's more community engagement. So some of the recommendations that were made, one is putting signs up in the lobbies. So if you're supposed to have a fire guard or a security guard, there's gonna be a sign in the lobby to tell you who you can call if they're not performing up to their expectations. And that's another thing. There seems to be confusion, it's confusing to me. Fire guards and security guards, they're dressed alike, there's no distinction. And hopefully at some point we can make a distinction. So there are 52 senior sites that have security guards. And their hours is about, they do 8 hours, one development has 24 hours, but the rest, for the most part, have 8 hours. And those hours are selected by the tenant leadership. So some places, they wanted their 8 hours in the daytime, when the seniors are going to doctors' appointments, pharmacy, that type of thing. They want their hours in the daytime. Some places want it at night when bad things happen. So that's how, and the tenant leaders make the selection of the hour. The fire guards are put in place when there's a disruption or impairment of the fire system. So that means if the standpipe that carries the water is impaired, there's leaks or whatever, and we have to shut it down, or in the case of the community center or senior centers, the alarms don't work or the sprinklers don't work, we have to put a guard while that facility is open. So about a year ago, there were 153 sites that had to have a fire guard. And if it's a development, a residential building, it's 24/7 that guard has to be there. By law, you have to have that guard there. And the guard is supposed to walk the building periodically. So maybe every hour they're supposed to walk the building, make sure there's nothing catching fire, there's no smoke, that type of thing. They're supposed to assist in evacuating people, they're supposed to assist fire department getting inside, whatever. The security guards in the senior buildings are supposed to patrol the lobby. People think they're supposed to do chariot patrols, go upstairs. They're not supposed to. Their responsibility is the lobby, the ground floor staircase, make sure that the rear door is secure, make sure the front door is secure. They're not supposed to let people in, people are supposed to sign in, and there's supposed to be a visible presence in uniform. Okay, so from 153 is now 25. I don't know if I said that. It was 153 locations, and now it's down to 25. And a lot of that credit goes to Joe Terranova, who's the fire safety director. And what he did was, it's a lot cheaper to get these things fixed. That's causing us to have a fire guard there. So it's a lot cheaper maybe to fix the sprinkler system or get the standpipe fixed than it is to have a guard there 24/7. So he's done a great job, and I've heard numbers of how much money he's saved, but the last number I saw was $30 million saved. That's tremendous, and a lot of credit goes to him. So you'll be seeing these signs. When you see the sign in the lobby, and it's gonna say, listen, if this guard is not doing what he's supposed to be doing, call this number. You heard it from me, all right? And our plan is to have tenant leaders more involved in this. Because they asked us, hey, has the tenant leadership been involved in the selection of these companies? And the answer right now is, no, they haven't. So we'll see, how we can make that better, get tenant leaders more involved. Okay, the other big thing is homeless. And that's
Sorry, let me interrupt. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, before you move on from guards, I just wanna clarify one point that you made. It is a significant funding change, probably around 30 million, but it's not a savings in the sense that we did not baseline for that funding. So this is like an opportunity cost. We no longer have to find 30 million like we used to year over year, because you never know when a system's gonna fail. And so we always have to find the money for the guard as it happens. So it's not that we have 30 million available now to reprogram anywhere else. We just don't have to find that money now, which is great.
But before moving on to the homelessness issue, there are questions about fire guard, security guard, and including online. Okay.
I do, just one question.
Just push the button. Great, thanks. Ms. Torres?
Yes, based on our monthly, and Cynthia's on the call too, based on the, on Manhattan South, our district, when we have our meetings and the complaints that we've gotten, either about fire guards or security guards, there does need to be a clarity, but how many are actually assigned in Manhattan South? Because we have a meeting next Monday.
Okay, you have Reese, and you have Smith, of course, your development, exit. And you have 2 bridges. All right, so
These are all
Reese,
fire guards?
these are fire guards. Reese has 1 location, 1141 FDR Drive. Smith has 1, 2, 3, 4, it looks like 7, 1, 2.
Why don't we send her a list
Yeah.
offline? We can
Yeah, I'll give-
because
I'll
it's not
give you
just
that.
Lower East
Okay.
Side.
All right, and 2 bridges. And then in Manhattan North, you have
You can send me-
Upaka and Taft.
That's fine, you can send me a list, I
All
just,
right,
because out of 25, I just wanted to know how many of our developments are involved in our district. Thank you.
and you have 45 Allen as well. This is the sign, I'll pass this around to you. This is the sign that's gonna be in the lobby. So if the guard is not, doing what they're supposed to be doing, just sleep.
Since when?
This is brand new. This is in the lobbies, maybe
As of
today.
last week.
This is brand new.
Okay.
Because I didn't see it this morning when I left my
But
building.
this is one of the recommendations from, Department of Investigation, and, I think it's a good recommendation. So now, if your guard is not there or whatever, so, and we made the distinction. One, sign says fire guard, one says security guard. Fire guards are supposed to be there 24/7. So if the guard is doing an 8 to 4, and at 4 o'clock his relief doesn't come, he can't leave. He gotta stay until he's properly relieved. The guards have an 8-hour shift. At the end of their shift, the security guard, they can leave. You're shaking your head, I'll try and,
I think what I just wanna clarify again, as Chief Secreto mentioned, the fire guards actually roam the buildings, they do top to bottom checks on the system. So unlike security guards that are stationed in the lobby, so if you don't see the fire guard, they may be elsewhere, but if you actually don't see them and you don't think they're showing up, definitely let us know. And if you don't see the sign, if it was taken down in your lobby, definitely let us know so we can put it back up.
No, I'm quite aware of the difference between security and fire guards. And I've had to explain that to the residents, because the question has been, why does this building have a security guard thinking, and it's actually a fire guard? So I'm quite clear about that, but the 24 hours,
Not happening.
they're supposed to be there 24 hours. And we've increased the number of checks that we do. We check on the cameras, we do surprise visits. We pretty much quadrupled the number of visits that we were doing previously. And I think they've gotten better, but it's still not perfect, but I think they've improved.
And if you have a site that you think would benefit from one of those surprise visits, let us know.
Okay. And then the homeless, that's a big issue, because last week we had a homeless, his dog, he had 2 dogs, and one of his dogs bit one of the workers. And so we went there, and the PD went there, PSA 7, and I think that was Butler Houses. And the guy started fighting with the cops. And, he didn't want them to take his dog. He said, "You're not taking my dog." They wanted to fight him, and they took the dog. But, and the guy's back the next day. That's the problem. And so we team up with PD, they remove the person, even if this guy got arrested, by the way. He's back the next day. So it's like I don't want to say cat and mouse game, but it's a cat and mouse game. We take them out, drive off, they come back in. So, even if they're arrested, they're not gonna stay in jail for a long time. One guy is in jail. He's been in jail since November, and he actually lived in the building, in Lincoln Houses. And a lot of times people have connections to that building. So this guy with the dog, he used to live in the building, his family lost the apartment, now he's homeless, but he still has that connection to that building, so he's there. The guy in Lincoln, his mother lives on the 2nd floor, she won't let him in, he lives outside in the hallway. And we take him out, we lock him up, he's back. The only reason he's in jail now, been since November, so you're talking 6 months, he set a car on fire. And there were witnesses, video, whatever, so he's been in. But as soon as he gets out, I'm sure he'll come back. And I've asked if we can, because I've heard that in certain places where they have, say, shoplifting, they ban the offender from coming in, say CVS or Walgreens, whatever. He can't come in that store because he's a known shoplifter or whatever. I tried to see if we could get that done, and they tell me, this is the DA's office, that they can do a restraining order from, say, the property manager or a caretaker if they've been victimized by this person, but not for the facility itself, not for the building, not for the development. So that's one of the problems. But be that as it may, we go out 3 times a week with homeless services and the police department and NYCHA. And we visit a different development. We go Tuesday nights at 6, Wednesday nights at 9, and on Thursdays we go with a nonprofit in Queens, Breaking Ground. We go out with them, but they only do Queens. So we'll hit South Jamaica, we'll hit Bland, different developments in Queens. Now this is significant. Listen, it's not the most things 3 times a week. I think it'll take us 2.5 years to hit every development one time. But we actually hit some certain developments repeatedly because they have a bigger problem than others. Some don't really have this problem. Prior to this, we've been doing this for 3 years. And we signed a memorandum of understanding between the 3 agencies. And prior to that memorandum of understanding, homeless services could not come in NYCHA buildings. So the police department would have to escort a homeless person or offending members, would have to escort them out to the sidewalk, and DHS Homeless Services would have to talk to them out at the sidewalk. It's kind of awkward. But now they're allowed to come in, and that's been a help. It's not, the greatest, but it's something. Amazon. Actually, we've talked about this a couple of times.
Sorry, Chief Security, let me interrupt. Sorry, just interrupt. Are there questions on the homelessness part of the presentation before moving to Amazon? Including online? Okay, nothing online. Ms. Torres?
Yeah, I just, based on the meeting that we had with the TA presidents, and even one of the biggest problems with the homeless situation is when they do damage to our elevators and things like that. So how do we, who do we go to, or what do we as residents and resident leaders have to do to make sure that this doesn't continue to happen? Because the thought is, right, this is public housing, so I could do this, not understanding that you're actually trespassing, right? Just because it's public housing. And so how do we work as a team to correct this? And I'm not, just for the record, so people understand this, on January 7th of last year, my goddaughter, who was 40 years old, had mental health issues, was found dead in a bench in a train station. So I have real, with the homeless, ensuring that they're safe and they're in a warm place. And so my question to NYCHA is, how do we work as a unit to resolve this issue in a humane way? That who do we go to? The resident leadership. Who do we approach, right, to resolve this? Because we're all facing, and yes, I agree that a lot of the residents were people who either lived or have been put, for whatever reasons, out of their family homes. And so how do we work to make this a better situation for everyone? Because when the elevators are broke, if people have wheelchairs or walkers, then they can't come out of their house to go to their appointment. It affects the quality of life even for the residents who live in the building.
All right, so, my condolences, I did not know that, I'm sorry. One of the things I left out about this collaboration that we do, we offer services to the people that we encounter. And that's why Homeless Services is with us. They have social workers, and they talk. I've seen them talk to different people for like a half hour, trying to convince them to accept services, whether it's mental health, drug treatment, or going to a shelter. And sometimes, I'd say 9 out of 10 turn it down, but that is one of the things that we offer. That we're not just throwing them out, whatever, we're offering services, and that's the difference between us. Sometimes we reach out to Department of Health, maybe the Mobile Crisis Unit can come. But if there's, threat of violence, then they won't take the case. But it is an issue. It is an issue, and we're meeting next week with the Housing Bureau has a new chief, Charlie McAvoy. We're gonna meet with him, Ms. Trimble and Lisa Boverhide and Lauren Gray and the rest of us. We're gonna meet with him and bring up some of these issues that I'm talking about today. And hopefully, there's something that, that he's bringing to the table. He's coming from Brooklyn South. He's like a 30-year veteran. And he could, bring some ideas and what we could do better.
So Manhattan South is also meeting with him on Monday.
Oh, okay. He's a good man. I know him about 25 years. And he's gonna come and he's gonna do his best as he can. But I thought that we would do more in the way of, there's a lot of vandalism. And I grew up in housing and there was vandalism back then. People would turn on the fire, I guess it's the standpipe that I talk about, and flood the whole staircase. Like every Saturday they would do it. And then NYCHA took the hoses off, or took the wheel off so they couldn't turn the water on. Then it set the hoses on fire. So different things. So I've witnessed the vandalism firsthand. So I thought when I came here that I would be able to, we look at the cameras, we see who broke the door, and we'd be able to hold them accountable. Hasn't been worked out quite the way I would have liked it. I think I'm here 3 years, we've probably locked up maybe 6 people or something. But for, breaking the door, and in some cases, right after the door was fixed by the vendor or the maintenance, the door was broken an hour later. But I digress. It's an issue, and maybe we could put our heads together and see how we could better address the homeless situation. It's happening in all our buildings. The Amazon lockers. And we talked about this. Right now, they're in 75 developments, 668 lockers, upwards of 500,000 packages delivered, pretty much without incident. And every week we walk, go to different developments, see where the lockers would best be fit to place them at this location, that location. But it's a help in that people aren't getting their packages stolen. At least the people that go through Amazon. I think FedEx doesn't deliver with them. I think UPS goes to their lockers, and that Temu, they don't deliver in these lockers. So their stuff, from what I'm told, they put it down in the lobby, put it in front of your door, it still gets stolen.
Thank you. Mr. Hall, you have a question?
I have one Amazon locker, but that's because I have a roofing contract. And I hope when that's out of the way, the other 5 lockers will take their place. The problem that I have is residents don't understand what to do. All right, they have to find out on their own how to use the Amazon lockers. We're writing stuff on the wall to explain to them to do it within the confines of how they order, and use the proverb that it has on the outside in order to get the packages. However, I have a lot of people now who are walking around stealing packages. And
Not out of the locker.
no, they're not out of the lockers. They're delivering it. They are coming in when the gentleman pushes that big box. He comes in here, he pushes the cart, and then he presses 14, so the elevator goes up, because he's on 9, but he wants to make sure when the elevator comes down, he gets it. And this is what they do. It's a system. It's probably going on right now as we speak. This is what they do. But we have another group of individuals who come in behind them and take the packages. And we have, a lot of our residents now have Ring cameras because they're so sufficiently educated. All right, they use the Ring cameras, and then they take the picture of the individual, and then they want to put that in the lobby. So I got a lobby with all kind of pictures of individuals, all right? But the individuals who are actually robbing the packages are right in front of the Carry Dad restaurant trying to get $1 about 8 o'clock at night. It's the same people. So they're not going to be hard to find, but we got to put some closure to this. So
do you want someone from Amazon to come to your meeting and talk about
we can
process?
we can set that up. It's just right now I'm in the middle of trying to get reelected. So it's another thing that I have to concern myself with. But in any event, it would be a good move. You know, we've had dialogue, you, me, and Lauren Gray, with regards to where we're gonna put it. Wasn't a problem, all right? But the fact of the matter is this, we got a lot of theft, and we gotta put some closure to it, so.
But just so I understand, where do they leave the cart in the lobby saying go up to the 14th floor?
They push the 14th floor, but they take the cart and they get off at 9 and they put stuff by people's doors. They take pictures of it and then they leave. The picture means it's delivered. This is how they do it. So, and then they keep moving. Alright? Then I got this other crew coming in right behind and they're taking packages and they open the package on the staircase. That's why I got the cameras in the staircase. Alright? But this it's very
But
systematic.
that's why we're putting the lockers, you know, that's
Yeah.
the whole, you know,
But that's one locker, that's just Amazon. We got all these other individual.
but that's the thing, like I was at Monroe, and they got the lockers as well, but the Temu, I think it's called,
Yeah, they got
they
that.
don't use these lockers.
Right.
And FedEx doesn't use these lockers, so they still continue to put the package either in the lobby or in front of your door. That's another issue.
Yeah.
But, you know, and a lot of this, I say, we're trying to get better. And I think, you know, incrementally, we've gotten a little better, but we're not there yet. I would love those other 5 to go in.
Okay, I'll talk with you, we can set
Okay.
something up, all right, thank you.
I just,
you.
you wanted to say
Yeah,
something,
Miss-
so I'll give you the floor, and then I just wanted to
All
say.
right, thank you, Ms. Lino and then Ms. Torres.
Yes, so my question is, I wanna go back to the part where you were mentioning about fire guards.
Yeah.
So I live in the downtown Brooklyn, area in Gowanus houses, so I wanted to know, from my understanding, you stated that due to, funding, that you went from 125, fire guards to 25 now, is that?
Sites.
Sites.
We had 153, about this time last year, there were 153 sites, and now it's down to 25. Because they fixed it, if the standpipe that carries the water is broken or whatever, we gotta shut it down, we gotta put guards there until it's fixed. And some of these places have had guards there for a year, maybe even longer. So I don't know about Gowanus, but at any rate, our goal was to have less sites, and that's saving money. Fix the thing, instead of having a guard there for a year, 24 hours a day, let's fix the sprinkler system, let's fix the alarm, the standpipe. So now we're down to 25, which is that's a big deal. I'd like it to be, at some point, you know, 0. But a lot of these buildings are, you know, upwards of, 70 years old, 80 years old.
Right.
So they're old, and a lot of these things are breaking down.
So if you could just share, not now, at a later time, you could just share with me in terms of is there's gonna be something in Gowanus, cause.
I could look it up. I don't want to.
It don't have to be right now.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I don't think Gowanus has any,
Okay.
but one of the other things that I didn't mention is that these companies are supposed to hire residents as well, right? That's part of the deal. I could find out, like, if they do so. So I know that the last company that came on board was CitySafe, and they needed guards, because at that time there were 153 locations. They needed guards, so they were doing workshops and what have you, job fairs to try and get people to sign up. And they did some in developments. I don't know the number that they got from housing residents, but I know they got, the guards that they needed, they got more guards. So I have to get back to you on that, the number. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, well,
Ms. Torres, you had a question?
Yeah, about the height. I did a site visit on one of the developments in Manhattan South, and the resident association president said, well, he's a little bit taller than me, I'm short, so you have to be like 6 feet tall to get to the top. So if they put and his question was, can they be lower so that people, especially people who are handicapped and things like that, if they put those packages up, I mean, they're high. I mean, I can't, if standing up, if I go like that, I still can't reach it. And so that was a conversation that I had with one of the resident leaders. They like him, but some of them, they're too high, and they need to be leveled so that people can, wider versus vertical, and
and I got to take a look at the pictures, because I would imagine they have lockers at the lower levels, and you would have to give instructions. Say when you order, make sure you put the package in one of the lower level lockers. No?
Nope, they want it lower. Like, it just makes sense to make it lower because the assumption is that everybody's like super tech is gonna say, please put it on this locker on the top. And what if that day everybody buys, all the lockers are filled, and you get the drawer, right? And you get you're 5 feet like me, and you get the one that you gotta be 6 feet and then some. And so just makes sense to do it at the gate side.
Make it wider
Wider.
and lower.
They're like 6 feet across and they're 6 feet high. I mean, I gotta take a look, you know.
Yeah, we can
I gotta
follow
take a
up.
look.
We don't have control, I don't think we have control over that those are the sizing that comes from Amazon. I think they offer 2 different sizings, but we can follow up separately on that.
But I'm pretty sure you can give instructions, listen, I can't reach high, can you put them in the lower lockers? They want your business, they're gonna do what you ask them to do. But I'm gonna call a guy that we walk with like 2 or 3 times a week and ask him about that. I have an answer for you by the end of this meeting.
Chief Streeter, we have one more question from this lady.
Yes, so in terms of Amazon, I know that they installed Amazon, what do you call it, boxes throughout Gowanus. So I know that there were certain buildings where they actually installed it at, that seniors were having an issue on where they installed it at. So my question is there a way where it can be like relocated, because it's getting warmer now, and seniors have their where they actually sit at, in the outside of their building, but the box is actually blocking. So is there a way where they can relocate it to another area where it's not blocking where the senior sits at during the summertime?
They could, I'm sure. I think it costs a lot of money for them to move it. But we actually, when we go to development, I went to Gowanus.
Okay.
I think it was around August it was around August of last year. We walk with the TA president and sometimes the property manager, and they tell us where they want it. So, and listen, they may not know that this is not a good place when they make the decision. But I know it's expensive. There's one development they want to move, and I think it costs them some money to move it, but it can be moved. And I think Gowanus is in discussion. I think that they're not happy about. I don't remember what building it is. That they're not happy, and they're in discussions about relocating.
Okay.
But I was there with your TA president, because you got a restaurant there on what is it? What's
On Hoy Street?
The fancy one, what's it called? Like, it's a fancy restaurant.
It's on Hoy Street, it has to be, yeah.
Hoy goes up and then Bond comes down. Yeah, it's on Hoy, across from the management.
Okay.
We were talking about, we're gonna do breakfast together. All right.
Well, I would like to.
You want me to wrap this up? I see Dan chomping at the bit over here.
Yes, thank you, Chief Streeter.
All right. Dan, I love some stuff for you to talk.
Definitely not John.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna turn next to Mr. Green, you're gonna start. So Daniel Green of Property Management Operations, and the topic we're gonna turn to now is vacant units.
And this controls the.
That's right. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. I apologize for being late. I was doing interviews and they ran a little bit long, so I do apologize for that. Today, I'll be walking through a couple things, primarily vacant units, but then I'll also be touching on a new program that we're doing this year to try to proactively address some of our most urgently needed repairs inside of apartments. So vacant units, I'll start just by showing the first slide. Is it? Okay. Okay. So this, what I'm showing here on the screen is a screenshot from a dashboard that was built about 2.5 years ago. What we found was during COVID and immediately afterwards, NYCHA had a lot of processing problems with our vacant apartments. Number one, we had a lot of workplace restrictions during COVID. Number two, there were some new requirements put in place, especially around lead paint, in terms of a stricter standard. that we had to now adhere to. And so for about a year and a half, it really slowed down across the agency where we were really not processing much in terms of vacant apartments at all. So we took a very hard look at it, and it really started by this dashboard, which Anne Marie Flatley's team developed, which is the first comprehensive, very transparent look at the holistic vacant apartment universe here. And what it does is allow us day by day to track exactly where our vacant apartments are, what status they have, how many we are completing, and how many apartments we're renting each month. So just to walk you through, I'll start, this top line shows the total number of units at NYCHA at any one given time. It'll go up and down. It'll really go down if there's a PAC conversion, so, because it only includes, section 9 and section 8 units if they're in a section 9 development. So that is the first number there. So the first line is our total population. Second is the total occupied apartments. So you'll see right now in the most recent line, I think it's around 141,000 there, for when this data was pulled. Then it shows our occupancy rate, which is about 93% right now.
2504.
Yeah.
Last column, right?
Yeah, last column, correct. I'm going down in order, so you'll see the top line is total vacant units. Second line is total occupied units. Third line is the percentage of occupied units. Fourth line is total vacant units. Now the vacant units break into 3 categories. First, we have the permanent off the rent roll units. These are, number one, these could be, have to be approved by HUD, to be taken permanently off the rent roll. They could be, office space, that has been, apartments have been converted to office space. It could be apartments that are uninhabitable. For example, I know one example is at Claremont, they have a number of these basement apartments that are just not inhabitable anymore, and so we don't use them. But that will give our total number of off the rent roll. They also could be reserved for a certain program, like a comp mod or a upcoming PAC conversion, and so they're taken off the rent roll pending those conversions because they're used for relocation units during those conversions. So that shows our total number of off the rent roll, which citywide is 1,700 and it's around 1,700. Sorry, my eyes are not going to allow me to read that quite.
You can't read it, it's like.
It's very small. We can provide larger blow-up versions of this. I can't see it from here, but it's around 1,700 or so. The second column, the next one is really important. It's the total adjusted vacant units. So this is our vacant. So overall we get about 10,000. You subtract out the permanent off the rent roll, and that leaves about 8,200 or so total adjusted vacant units. And so what those are is 2 categories. Or 3 categories, excuse me. Number one, we have our vacant available units. These are just units that we are responsible for turning over and making available to new residents. So that's the largest category. As of today, we've got about 5,800 of those across the authority. Oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you very much. Much better. I would pass that eye exam right there. Okay, 58. So under this chart, you'll see it's the green row right there. It's the 5810. Those are the units that we have to turn over every single month. That's our population, and that is spread out. That's spread out citywide. The next column right above that is temporary off the rent roll units. So these are units that are used for, number one, they could be things like a fire apartment that's going to take us a little bit longer to rehab. Number two, they could be things like that we're using for hospitality apartments, like during a lead or asbestos relocation. So we use them for hospitality, but they're off the rent roll for a short period of time. And then we place them back on the rent roll once that purpose is alleviated. And the final column up there, and I'm going up, is the matched vacant units. That means that in this chart here, you'll see it's at the 912 number. These are the ones that have actually been already matched. The unit is completed and we're ready to turn over, and a resident has already been selected for that apartment and is in the process of the rental of that apartment. So matched is not really vacant. It means that somebody is actually coming in to sign the lease for that property. And so that all totals up to about 8281 currently, as of, this was pulled in April. It's a little bit different today. This was as of, I don't know what day, April 9th. So it changes every day. The red line that you'll see TSAT moved in units, That number shows how many people we move in each given month. So you'll see so far in April, as of the 9th, we'd already moved in 107 people. We're actually moving in more people than we have really since prior to COVID. Right now, every single month, the beginning of the year, we had our highest number in I think over 2 or 3 years, where we moved 411 people in January alone. That was that was one of the highest months that we've ever had since we've been keeping this data. In February, we moved in 337. This past March, we moved in 383, and so on and so forth. So right now, I expect as the EVP for property management to see at least 380 or higher per month for people moving into our units. And as we'll talk about in this presentation, a couple years ago, what we did was we changed the way that we matched apartments. What NYCHA used to do, I think, was wrong. What we used to do is basically as soon as somebody left, no matter what the condition of the apartment is, no matter how much work it turned into, no matter what hazards might be, we matched it to a person. We took their money. And then that person had to sit and wait until we were done. And because of the length of time it takes to do asbestos abatement, to do lead abatement, and to do all the necessary repair work, because a lot of these apartments, I've been in hundreds at this point, they need a lot of plastering, they need a lot of carpentry. It wasn't fair for that resident to sit there with a down payment on that apartment. So now, like we do, like professional landlords, like how we should be operating, we don't match the apartment until the unit is ready. So once it's fully lead free, once it's made asbestos safe, has new tiles, carpentry, everything's done, what the residents are now seeing and being matched to are brand new apartments, which I think has made it a lot better for residents, because now they're getting what they paid for. They're getting new apartments when they moved in, and they're not sitting there waiting. So I honestly, in the past, since we've changed this, especially over the past year, I really don't get a lot of complaints to say, I put my money down, I'm waiting in my apartment. We used to get those all the time. People really frustrated because they put a lot of money for down payments and rental fees and everything like that, and they just weren't getting it. So that was one big change. So you'll see that we're actually moving along the rentals better than ever right now. The other line I want to two other lines I just want to show you here is the created prep tickets per month. So one thing that this dashboard does is accountability. So what we used to have is a vacant unit, and then the management, what they have to do is they have to go into the vacant unit and they have to do a move-out inspection. And they have to create work orders. They do what they call a move-out work order, and they create all the necessary tickets that go along with it. So what was happening before is like somebody would move out, but maybe the super wouldn't go there. Maybe there was a staffing change or a staffing vacancy, and nobody would go create that ticket. But now we require them. We can track to make sure for every move out, somebody's going in and creating that ticket to get the work started right away. So you'll see this number gives you a pretty good approximation of how many people are leaving our apartments each and every month. Which last month in March, you can see 541 people moved out of our apartments, and then the tickets were created. It's approximate, it's not exact, but that's gonna show you pretty much how much we're getting per month. And you'll see that top line there, if you skim across the top very quickly, it's in the 400s easily every month, and sometimes it's even higher. So we have a high rate of people moving out of our apartments each month. And first of all, some of them are going off and living in non-NYCHA developments and whatnot, but a lot of our 60% approximately, and I'll go through this a little bit more, and I'll go quicker through the other slides, I promise, as I lay the groundwork here. About 60% are transfers. So a lot of people are leaving a NYCHA apartment to go to another NYCHA apartment. And that there is a challenge because of the fact that that leaves another vacant apartment. So this is not an easy backlog to drive down because a lot of times when people move out, they leave us with another vacant apartment to address. So you might see certain developments going down, but you see a lot of other developments where people are transferring out but maybe not in, starting to go up. So that is a challenge here because we are in a degree like kind of spinning the wheel a little bit. But what you'll see here is the closed prep tickets. That's how many move-outs we're completing every single month, the construction. Not rental, because it takes a couple months to rent it still with gathering the fees and working sometimes with HRA. But right now, for the past like 6-7 months, we're averaging over 500 move-out completions per month. We've been especially strong in the Bronx and in Brooklyn. But we've also been pretty strong in Manhattan, in Queens. In fact, Manhattan just had their best month recently, just this past March, and I expect good things from them. So everybody's working. The way that we're doing it strategically is overtime. We do use overtime because we want our staff to spend their days and also a lot of their after the day working in occupied apartments. But the only way that we can get to the significant work and the move outs is we strategically use overtime. So I think this is, I can ask any questions about this chart or I can jump ahead. But it has a lot of information, a lot of data in here that we use. I look at this chart probably 5 times a day for different reasons, because it has a lot of information that I can use.
Thank you. Are there questions about the chart?
Okay, yes.
Just push the green, thank you.
Okay, the question becomes one of, the question is, so when you do the transfers, right? What is the criteria besides the residents going in and doing the proper documentation so that they stay in the same development? And this is a conversation, I just wanna say that I'm very happy with the fact that, our management and our executive board meet once a month. And we discuss issues like this, right, the move outs, how many residents are getting transferred. And so that's been a good thing. And the VP, Ms. Traveras, has made sure that, at least in the district, I know for a fact that that is happening, and if it's not, she follows up on it. So, I do meet with, and that was the conversation, that was the agenda for this month's meeting, about how many residents we have that are overcrowded and need to be moved in, and that we have so many vacancies in Smith. And as the apartments are released, that those residents within our development get, and not bring people from the outside. So how is that being done?
Do you want me to take that down? Sure, so our transfer and new admission policy is set forth in our ACOP. And the transfer for both prospective tenants, whether it's a transfer or a new admission, is guided by TSAP, the Tenant Selection and Admissions Plan. And unfortunately, that plan does not allow for any type of, distinction in that way. So when you are selected, you are matched with the next available unit. And it cannot be dictated to, you can give a preference if you wanna stay in your development, if you wanna stay in your borough. But when you get your selection, you don't have a lot of opportunity to kind of change that around. And so we can't say that vacancies in Smith are only open to residents in Smith that wanna transfer. It has to go to the next person on the wait list in the next preference category. So that's just, and the tenant selection plan is dictated by, multiple consent decrees and other requirements, and so that's the way it works right now.
But what about severe, what's the
The preference category.
the preference category
so-
for super overcrowding?
Yeah, so severe overcrowding is considered emergency transfer, like a high level transfer. But so are, other situations as well. So it's very hard to say where that would fall in the kind of selection criteria.
Okay, and the other question is, so Alfred E. Smith has the honor of sitting on ground zero. As residents, we're averaging one funeral a month. I have one this month already. And so for medical reasons, if people need to change, is that a priority?
If they need to increase their household size for a in-home attendant, something like that. That is an eligible transfer category. But again, I can't remember off the top of my head where it falls as far as priorities.
Okay. Is it possible that we can get a listing of what the priorities are?
Yes, we can tell that to you.
Thank you.
Just one question. I heard what you said, Mr. Green, and to every action is an equal and opposite reaction. To get this work done, like in the Bronx, and I'm just gonna state for Gun Hill, because I don't control within a district, because I don't really have a district. But in Gun Hill, my super's gone. One of my workers are gone. My assistant super has now gotta act like a super. The morale is being indirectly affected because of what is happening with this transition. So, I hope the work is getting done because, you feel it on the back end.
Yeah, we monitor, I am aware of the situation at Gun Hill, and that really is more about, not really so much about vacant apartments per se altogether, but it's about a mix of issues and trying to build some mentoring of
Exactly.
some, and we keep an eye on all of the properties, and we appreciate your superintendent for doing a little bit extra to help us mentor our staff and improve the borough as a whole. But I can assure you, I think vacant apartments, in my view, are critical. Number one, a lot of them are used for transfers for exactly what Ms. Torres explained, that we need to keep our transfers going because people are overcrowded, people are living in uninhabitable conditions or not in apartments suitable for the medical conditions. So I see vacant apartments as a huge critical element for our residents as well. In addition, there's a safety issue. Right, we've heard many stories after COVID of squatters in the apartments, unsafe environments created by too many vacant apartments. And I see it every single day, and we wanna make sure that we gotta get these properties, but there's supposed to be people living in them, they're supposed to be vibrant communities, we don't wanna have vacant apartments and people breaking into them. We've had really bad problems throughout the city, in the Bronx, in the Rockaways, and in other places as well with these issues, and I think turning them over are essential. But I appreciate what's happening at Gun Hill. I'm happy to talk to you about it afterwards, but I assure you, everything's gonna be back.
Oh, okay.
And it's
All right,
good.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this shows some of our improvements. So, NYCHA move-ins 2021 to 2024. NYCHA has seen a 50% improvement in the total number of vacant apartment move-ins from 2023 to 2024. So we've seen really some big number jumps here. We see two charts. We see the first on the left is total move-ins and transfers, and then the last is just it separates them out, divides them in two. So you can see the total, and then it divided in half. If I'm reading this correctly. So in let's see. So in 2021 we had a decent year. We had 4,400. We had 2219 move-ins and 2225 total transfers. So 50% were transfers. In 2022 we went down to 1,800, and that was the year that we struggled pretty mightily. So that went down 58% that year. 2023 we saw the rebound starting up 2675, and then this year we're back on par. So we're over 2024 we're over 4,000. We estimate to even be higher than that this upcoming year. So we are increasing. So the temporary drop has been corrected. The changes have been put in place. And now we really just feel it's all about just implementation at this stage and ensuring that we continue to stay on top of this so we don't see that dip again.
And I just wanna add, to Dan's point there, the fact that we're back at those 21 numbers is tremendous, but we're back at those 21 numbers with providing completely lead-free and asbestos-safe apartments, which wasn't always the case in 21. So not only are we back on quantity, we are exceeding on quality, which I think is a really important distinction there between the 21 numbers.
Yes, thank you, Eva, and that's critically important. Yes, everything is made lead-free, so either has to test negative at 0.5, the city's new standard, or be abated at 0.5. And then everything has to be abated for asbestos properly with new floors added in. I have to say, like I go in these apartments a lot, probably once a week. And the quality, we also have to make them Inspire ready, right? So Inspire is the new requirement, smoke detectors in every room, GFCI outlets. So we also have to make them Inspire ready. So our neighborhood administrators will walk these apartments. To get the high numbers, right now we set pretty much a quota per neighborhood, like basically around 20 move-outs per neighborhood. Some neighborhoods, it's a little bit more challenging to meet that 20, but generally that's what we're looking for. So that's about five move-outs handed in each month per development. We keep them on track. We review it. I review it with them pretty much every single month, if not more, to make sure that we're on track with that. And this, you can see the curve. You can see where it dropped, and then you can see as we start to climb up. And I think we're actually now higher than we were, and I think we're really have a good process in place that we're now just executing. We do have some developments that have big backlogs, like the Red Hooks, Woodwire Gardens, Mitchell Houses in the Bronx. Drew Hamilton in Manhattan, and even Smith itself has too many, in my opinion. So we do need, it's a bit difficult world to drive down because it is a lot of resources to turn these things in. With all the environmental work that happens, but I do feel like we're pulling as a team across the city to get the numbers up per month. And I can, so you'll see here just another diagram showing the increase of work. This is the number of prep jobs completed per month with the average days to close. So we still have a very high number of average days to close, and that's because a lot of the prep it still takes us a while to turn it, I'm not gonna lie, it still takes us a while to turn in the vacant apartments, but these numbers look worse than it probably is today. A lot of these were because of the pause that happened and the delay that happened in 2022. We have a lot of old move-outs that we're turning in right now, so they have a very old age date to them because some of them were vacated a few years ago. So when we turn it in now, like when we start the work, it should only take us probably about 120 days to complete. But because we're starting from a very late point, the numbers are going to be very high. So it's going to take some time for that number to start to come down. But we are we are starting to see that number come down in terms of the average days to close a job. You can actually see that black line there, it kind of peaked at 494, and now it's gone down to 329. So that number has started to decline as we start to turn more and more of those units. When we first started this initiative, we had a lot of apartments that had been matched to residents that were very old, and residents were waiting over more than a year to move into those apartments. Nowadays, everything's pretty much matched in the past couple months, with a couple little exceptions here and there, but pretty much everything's been matched in 2025, meaning that we're turning them in, getting them rented very, very quickly. And so now we're starting to see that really, the change really take effect. And this just shows prep jobs completed per month, and then the average days. So I think it kind of shows something pretty similar to what we just saw. This will show the rolling average of the turnaround apartment time in days. You can see again, it kind of peaked out, and now as we start to finish the older ones and move them out of the system, we're starting to see it come down. Again, it's still going to be a long process because of the environmental and the work that needs to occur and the trade work that needs to occur, but we are starting to see that curve bend, which is what we want to see, because that means we're turning it around faster. Total number of vacant units. So why do we still have, if we're turning over so many units, why do we still have a backlog of 5,800? One of the most frustrating, perplexing numbers, I like to try to bring down backlogs and try to have an impact on the numbers. This one is a little bit challenging. The high rate of the transfer is like the big impact here, because a lot of times, about approximately 60% of the times when we turn the apartment, we're getting another vacant apartment somewhere else in the system. So it's very difficult. The other issue is the length of time and the high rate of move-outs every single month. We're seeing about 400 to 500 people move out. We're turning in a lot, but to get that number to really come down, you really have to get into a very high range that we just don't have the resources to do. Which is a very large amount of resources, right? We probably have to get 600, 700 apartments per month. Right now, we're getting 530. That's still a lot. So that gets where some of the challenges are. And then the matching. The matching is very different. So we match people, as we said, after the fact, after we complete the repairs now, which improves the experience for the resident because they're not having to lay out the money and have it delayed. And so that's definitely impact. The other big thing I just want to quickly note is things like comp mod, PAC. They will make their estimates of how many units they need for a comp mod project, for example, St. Nicholas or Todd Hill or Gowanus. That's a very good example of Gowanus, where they wanted to use units in neighborhood 8, which is Ingersoll, Whitman, et cetera. However, they ultimately decided, due to some of the resident preferences, that they were not going to use those. So what happens with those apartments, they were kind of put in a block. There's about 200 of them. We didn't have to do anything with them, but then when they decided they didn't need them, they get shifted back on to property management to turn over. So because of some of those unit shifts, it's very hard for us to drive the number down, because people might move it from a temporary off the rent roll to now vacant available. So it's as plans change, it gets a little bit more challenging. But I am very happy with the number of people that are moving in and the number of apartments completed, and I am very happy with the quality of the units that we are providing to residents. So I do think we've had some successes, even though the vacancy number remains too high. And it will probably remain that way until some of these larger kind of initiatives kind of pale, and then also maybe the transfer rate will go down a little bit as we kind of get into that backlog. think that was the last slide here. So I don't know if maybe I talked too fast, so if I didn't talk too fast, but I'm happy to answer any questions if I did go too quickly over anything.
I just wanted to know, what does our waiting list look like? What's the number
For the
to
applicant?
get into NYCHA?
Oh,
I'm asked this all the time,
Say that again?
the waiting list.
I will get back to you with that number, but I will say there's two components of the waiting list and there's a waiting list for applicants, and then there's obviously a waiting list for transfers, which are two separate waiting lists. The waiting list for new admissions, there's a certified waiting list and then uncertified waiting list. The certified waiting list alone is near 200,000. So it's long.
Thank you. It's very
But
complex now.
I can get back to you with the numbers.
Okay, all right.
My other question is for the in-house transfers, how many years does a resident have to wait?
It depends on their preference category, and we can provide some of those numbers.
But let's say the lowest preference, right?
The lowest, meaning the lowest priority.
Priority.
when you feel,
The lowest priority, I mean, for a transfer, they can wait many years.
What's many?
the one I wanna just, it's very resident specific, so I don't know if we have that, we can probably follow up with that average
Yeah.
time, but so what, like if a resident doesn't have any of the special criteria and they wanna transfer, really, if I pick a very desirable development, I won't name any, cause they're all my favorites, but if there's a development that is very desirable, like, that people wanna move into, you're gonna wait a long time. Cause they don't have as many vacancies and you're gonna wait a long time, and we do have people who are very developed, I wanna only go to this wait list, and that will mean they could be waiting for many years. Then we have people who say, you know what, I'm willing to go anywhere in the borough of Manhattan, anywhere in the borough of Brooklyn, or even citywide. And those are gonna move a lot faster, cause there's a lot more inventory for us to match you with. So it has to do with where you wanna live, but if you are limiting yourself to a specific development or borough, you could wait longer, cause there's, it all depends on where you fall within that listing.
Okay, so, but this is my real question, right? I understand that about the preference, but if a resident is asking for a transfer within the transfer for more rooms or less rooms, what is the wait time? I'm not saying, I understand that. Like when you apply even for NYCHA, right? For the first time, depending on the borough you pick, the wait time might be longer than others. And that's a real reality, right? What I'm talking about is the residents within their own developments who wanna downsize or upsize, how long do they have to wait? And my next question is, do they have to apply every year when they wanna upgrade or downgrade?
So for transfers, you put in your transfer request and you put in whether you are eligible for any certain type of priority category. If you're over occupied, there's a category for that. But again, it depends on if you're choosing to stay in your development, that can be longer than if you wanna put yourself on a Manhattan-wide list or a city-wide list. You will wait longer usually for your own development, because, or any specific development, because that's just less, opportunity to have an apartment that fits you come available. We have some general averages that I can share with you, because again, every experience is different, and there's no guarantee or there's no way to guarantee a time frame. I can't say it's gonna take 2 years, because emergencies will come up above that. And so you wait until you are selected, until you move up in the list. But other people can move up ahead of you at any time if there's other emergency conditions that have a higher priority than your priority.
I get like domestic violence, if people had a fire, cause I've experienced all of those.
Exactly,
Right.
and that's why it's impossible to say.
To say, but the reason I'm asking is cause there's some residents that have been waiting 5-10 years
I
for
think that's about the average.
5 to 10 years. Just to get another bedroom?
Yes.
Okay.
As you saw from the numbers, we're only about 2,000 move-outs a year, right? Or
4,000.
4,000 move-outs, but then, so 4,000 move-outs a year open up. And so it's not a lot.
Further questions on vacancies before we move to the maintenance cares program? Okay, so we have about 12 minutes for the maintenance cares, so why don't we turn to that? It's a different PowerPoint, you wanna make sure that gets up? And I have one in hard copy here as well.
Okay, we can just go to the first slide, and so I'm here to talk about a new initiative that we are starting this year called Maintenance Cares, and to give you an update on our annual apartment inspection. So if you just wanna go to the next slide, I can, I have on myself. Sorry about that. Okay, so under the new Inspire rule, as of last year, we have to inspect 100% of our apartments every single year. I think it's great. We are getting into apartments that we have not been into for a long time. Just so you know, the previous rule was we would do 50% a year. So we do 50% and then we go to the next 50%. But that means if you missed your inspection, you might not be inspected for 4 years. So really now every single year we're getting into it. And last year we did 92% of the apartments. So for our first crack at it, we did pretty good. All the inspections are either performed by a NYCHA maintenance worker or a trained vendor inspector, who we're using now as a smaller, most are done by maintenance workers, but we have brought in vendors to assist, and they've actually been pretty successful, and they're actually very reasonably priced vendors. Inspections are conducted using a detailed checklist on the workers' handheld devices, so everything goes into Maximo. And workers are expected to complete simple repairs during the inspection, or required to do that, and then they create the tickets for the larger repairs if the maintenance worker or the vendor laborer cannot do it on site. So here's where we are today. So this year, first year we did good. This year we're supercharged. So as of today, we're not even halfway through the year yet. Brooklyn has already completed, which is I think our largest borough, slightly larger than Manhattan, almost 54% of its inspections so far. Bronx has completed about 52%, Manhattan also about 52%, and Queens Staten Island a little bit lower, about 47%, for a total of over 52% of our apartments we've already inspected to date. So that means we've been doing it for the past 4 months. And we're ahead of schedule this year, and so we anticipate that we're gonna beat last year's number. We're also gonna do some vacant apartments this year as well, to add that, to check for things repair issues that might be in our vacant apartments as well. So we're gonna add that into the mix later into the year as well. But one thing I noticed last year in my role is, even though we're getting into every single apartment, I wasn't hearing about anything that people were finding, and I watch the news, I see some of the conditions of our apartments. I'm at a development every single day, so I see what people are living through, but none of our maintenance workers were really telling us that they went into a really bad apartment and that they need urgent assistance. So what we did was we created an escalation protocol that goes directly to me and to my strategic advisor, to help us immediately begin actions if we identify an uninhabitable apartment. So what we're calling it is maintenance cares. And we're trying to change the attitude and the mindset of most NYCHA maintenance workers, which is if I see something, I don't want to say something, I don't want to get the resident mad at me. The problem is that you're living in uninhabitable conditions. And I don't want anybody living in that, but especially kids, seniors, and people who have mental health challenges. Really, we shouldn't be ignoring them. We should be trying to address our apartments. So this year, the maintenance workers, we did a big outreach to all of our maintenance workers. So these 10 conditions here: missing or unusable cabinets, vanity sinks or toilets, open walls, missing tub enclosures, heavy infestation, collapsed or significantly damaged ceilings. You'll see the picture on the right here that has been repaired. This was identified at Lower East Side too. Visible mold over 50 square feet, extreme hoarding or unsanitary conditions, no power or partial power, active visible leaks causing flooding or significant pooling of water, and any other generally uninhabitable condition. So we've started this initiative. It's been great. We have right now, this is the 3 guiding principles, which is every NYCHA resident deserves a decent, safe, and sanitary apartment. It is the responsibility of NYCHA frontline maintenance teams to proactively escalate uninhabitable conditions to NYCHA property management leadership. And it is the responsibility of our team, of the leadership team, to direct resources and be accountable for making sure that we're correcting these conditions quickly. We should not be leaving people in these conditions. So this is an apartment here at Black. This was a maintenance cares case, extreme mold, not really documented, and we were able to get in there and clean these conditions for the resident promptly. We're finding worse conditions than I've ever seen, and our maintenance workers are identifying these things to us proactively. So here we have 55 developments have so far sent us a maintenance care, at least one maintenance cares case. Many developments have sent us several. We have 253 open cases, including 61 priority cases. We've closed now 32 cases, and we just launched the program in March. So this is a very new program. And these are the types of conditions that we're seeing. These are representative. These are, again, conditions that no resident should have to live in at NYCHA. And our goal is to repair them as quickly as possible to get these residents in a habitable condition. Because this is the mindset that we're using, which our maintenance workers have to care, they have to take pride in their development. And we as the management are responsible. I control the trades, I control the environmental teams. I have to make sure that these resources are being spent expeditiously to resolve these conditions. We will be awarding maintenance teams that show excellence in this area. We already got some great t-shirts in for them that we're gonna be distributing to them. We wanna recognize them because they deserve recognition. Our maintenance workers have been doing a fantastic job. They are our front lines. We want them to feel that way. So you'll hear about maintenance cares more and more throughout the year, but we will be recognizing staff starting this week. And we hope to have every development letting us know about these cases. Even if they're not easy to resolve, we should be working on them. So that's it. I want to let folks know and happy to answer any questions about it.
Thank you. Are there questions about maintenance cares?
No, I'm basically happy. We've, at least in Smith, we've developed, the resident association has a grievance committee. So the grievance committee is meeting with maintenance. Any apartments that residents have complained to them, they're addressing. So that's the system we've set up in Smith. I am hoping that this goes through the district in terms of people getting their repairs. But there are, my question is, so the change of superintendents, which is what you're going through, and the change of, takes its toll on the development. And I'm not one to stop anybody from getting a promotion or growing, but I think there has to be communication, right? When that superintendent, if he's good, and the incoming staff. Because I think if there's no communication, any work that has started or ended, even though according to the systems that are supposed to be in, right, it should be in the system, I don't necessarily, how is that follow-up done?
Yeah, good question. So number one, I don't like to move supers, especially when they're succeeding. We only do it like when we have to, and we always try to do TA engagement when we do it. We do have the ability to transfer supers. They're one of them and property managers don't have any transfer rights, meaning that, for a long time it's been recognized that we have the operational ability to move them, but we have to engage. Eva and I make sure that the VP's absent like a safety transfer, because sometimes we have folks get threatened or whatever, we have to transfer them quickly, but that we have that engagement process whenever it's a manager or a superintendent. There should be some overlap or at least some engagement between the two supers to make sure they're aware of any issues. There's actually a project going on right now with one of the monitor teams about that transition that should happen. And the neighborhood administrator should also be, I know that you just have a new neighborhood administrator as well.
I knew everything.
Yes.
Actually, I'm not gonna speak as a chair, I'm gonna speak as a TA president. I'm actually quite happy with the team I have now. I think that the VP has done a good job in making the selections for given Smith's reputation, and I'll leave it at that. But look, it works this way. This is it, the reality. We either a you and us, or we do a we. Right? I've already done a you and us with us, because I took you guys, Smith took you to court on HPD.
Yes.
And yes, we won. So it's not about bragging, it's about a reality, but that's the way we felt, because we felt that there was no teamwork. I think that there has to be a real effort though to the resident leaders and to the resident associations about what is really working in your development.
And he's laughing because,
I have to laugh, because number one, I am the grievance committee. You're looking at the grievance committee for Gun Hill, all right? And number two, I'm appreciative of the maintenance in many respects. And I wanna say this, and I'll say this publicly. The reason is because the community is watching Gun Hill, not just management, not just the executive board, the community. And because indirectly, I'm gonna be honest with you, the community is affected when Gun Hill is not at its top peak performance, because we affect their property values. And I'm saying that because I deal with everything, okay? So that's basically it. When I have a problem, I'm standing there. Some people who live in Gun Hill don't even know who I am. Then when they find out who I am, then they wanna tell me about all their problems. I get that all the time. I'm used to that. Nobody says a word to me until they have a problem, and it's magnificent. But that's the way it is, and I've been doing it for a while, so I'm used to it. But I respect the fact that NYCHA is moving in a progressive nature. Although it's small, it affects the community because everybody's watching. And that's why I get that question. What's the waiting list like to get into NYCHA? And I go, you don't wanna know. But that's it, so please send me the answer though, Mr. Campbell.
absolutely.
Thank you. Ms. Lino, do you have a question?
Yeah,
So in terms of skill trade, I'm not sure if this is the right time to bring this up, but why does it take so long to get repairs done? So let's say you put in you have to call with neighborhood planning to schedule an appointment, it's like 4, 5, 6 months out. Why does it take so long?
So and I'm happy to come back another time and give an overview of the skill trade backlog. We have 330,000 open work tickets, and we get about 30,000 or 12,000 creative for trades each month. We do about 10,000, 11,000 of them. We have very good rates in terms of missed appointments for our skilled trades. It's like 5% citywide right now in terms of missed appointments. We're doing a lot of work. The problem is there's too much work coming in. So it does take a long time. Part of what we need to do better is prioritizing some of the work, because that's one of the purposes behind maintenance scares, but also from our work with the planners to make sure really urgent repairs are done more expeditiously and are not waiting that long period of time. But that's the issue. It's really we don't have enough staff to equal the number of repairs that we have to do. Also, we have repetitive repairs. Everybody knows our biggest problem is leaks. Leaks create work orders for every other trade, and our pipes are old, and we really need to replace them, because that's one of the big drivers.
Got it. So, Gowanus is going through the comprehensive modernization, right? And so we have, due to the rezoning, we got $200 million between Gowanus and Wyckoff. So my question to you is that once because we have the kitchen and the bathroom only, that they're being done, right? So would that eliminate a lot of the work order tickets once like the repairs are done in between those two developments?
Yeah, that's definitely the intention and the hope, and it should definitely drive true, because if we address those areas and other comp mod sites or whatever program, it's gonna be less of a burden for our staff to have to keep responding to the same repetitive issues like at other developments. So those comprehensive repairs will set us a better table. Number one, it will clear the backlog at those sites, but then we'll also put in new infrastructure that should require less persistent repairs that we see every single day, every single week. So that will help us reduce the burden, certainly at those properties. Other properties will still have challenges, so.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you, Mr. Green. Thank you, Mr. Hall, Ms. Torres, Ms. Lino, for your active participation today, for everyone online for tuning in. That concludes today's meeting. The next CAC will take place here at NYCHA on June 16th.